Meanwhile, the Embrace Diversity political movement has expressed disappointment at the outcomes of the election results of the ANC's National Executive Committee's additional members. This after LGBTIQ plus activist Steve Letsike could not get a spot on the list of additional members of the NEC. In a letter to the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, the Embrace Diversity political movement says it believes the LGBTIQ plus community will remain on the sidelines, and its struggle, led and represented by those without their lived experiences, will continue. It warns that the ANC has missed an opportunity to chart a defining moment in the history of gender politics in South Africa. We're joined now by Mpho Buntse, who is the LGBTQIA plus rights activist currently serving as National Head of Communications for the organization. A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. If you could just tell us basically what was said in the letter.
Thank you very much, Sabisa, and good evening to your viewers. Basically, this is our position to express our disappointment in what we view as an embarrassing moment, and missed opportunity for the African National Congress and its delegation to the 55th elective conference to actually affirm the commitment made by previous sittings of the ANC, in particular the recent National Policy Conference, which addressed issues of LGBTQ, but also to create and chart a vision for where the party would want to see LGBTIQ plus issues, move in terms of policy, in terms of inclusion into the programs of the party as well. So in the letter, we wanted to express the fact that this was an opportunity for us to be able finally to have a sit in the NEC collective, so that our issues may find expression, so that our issues may find proximity to policy development and execution, as the African National Congress is the leader of society and currently leads government business.
Just to get a sense of the playing field, are there any openly gay, queer, transgender members of the ANC NEC at the moment, or even at legislatures or parliament, that you feel, as you say, not only your ideals and issues are given expression, but that your rights are recognized?
Without any, confirmation of research, one is Embrace Diversity movement, but also having served within the context of the ANC Women's League LGBTIQ plus desk, we do not have any openly affirming queer individuals within the ranks of the ANC in any of our legislative houses. And this is seen through how, even in terms of issues of key votes that are meant to progress or advance issues of LGBTQ, we still find ourselves in the fence. You'd remember a couple of years ago, wherein our South African ambassador to the United Nations voted against a very important protection that was meant for the global community, and we are also seeing these happen where we are not there. The hate crimes bill, which has been in Parliament for close to 10 years, just because we don't sit on those benches, we are unable to advance our voice to articulate the fact that how important it is for Parliament to sign into law the hate crimes bill. So our absence in these key spaces indicate that we remain on the sidelines, we remain marginalized, we remain erased in terms of contributing towards the narrative within the MDM in its entirety.
I mean, before our conversations, we were just talking about hate crimes against the community. But I just want to understand, given what you've just said, how South Africa stacks up in a global context, but also on the continent. I mean, there was a time at which South Africa could proudly wear the badge of being one of, if not the first African countries to recognize gay marriages. But how far are we, how advanced are we with regards to equality laws?
Look, Tapiso, although our, legislative framework is, queer affirming or queer protecting, you rightly indicate a same-sex marriage bill, and many others. When we look at adoption rights, when we look at many other laws that have been introduced over the years, these are but just laws that are on paper, because we still see, an imbalance between the existence of these laws and public perception. One could make an example with how in the last 3 years, we could report about 35 brutal murders of the LGBTIQ plus community, which is also problematic because this hasn't received any priority from either the SATS or any law enforcement. But in general, what we are saying is that as a country, we have advanced in terms of creating laws that are protecting the LGBTQ, of course, starting with the Constitution that affirms the existence of LGBTIQ plus individuals. But when we go into the region, as far as Eastern Africa, we are seeing, the absence of laws. Punitive measures are still in place for cases of same-sex desiring. It's problematic, but at the same time, we are seeing our activism also factoring in how a lot of other countries, including Botswana, which is our neighboring country, has also advanced in terms of embracing and creating a conducive space for human rights of the LGBTQ to be protected by state. So we are seeing improvements, but at the same time, we are acknowledging the fact that we have laws that are there, but they still need to actually be indicative in how society is truly, truly accepting of LGBTIQ plus issues.
Just finally explain to the audience the importance of representativity of the community in our governance architecture in terms of our democratic ideals. Why, as you say, people with that lived experience are necessary to be part of decision making, and that it shouldn't just be a cosmetic representativity, but you actually should be at the center of decision making?
Well, from our side, we believe that there's no better representation than an individual representing themselves. And although we do acknowledge, as Embrace Diversity movement, the democratic centralism of the process of conference, we are also privy of the power that the delegation that was sent to Nazareth could have potentially had in terms of allowing, this space, this commitment by the African National Congress in the past to actually come into life. What we requested, what we appealed for in the most organic way was a consensus of one seat in the form of Comrade Steve Letsike. And we would have expected an overwhelming support from the floor. And this did not happen. It really says so much. Over and above that, it proves to us that we still have so much work to do within the context of the mass democratic movement to ensure that we do not have to go towards these extremes, in future conferences, but then it's an automatic understanding wherein our voice matters, but also we'll get support without having to pay for it.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Much appreciated. Mpho Buntse is LGBTQI plus rights activist, and he speaks on behalf of that organization that has written to the ANC protesting the lack of representativity on the additional members of the NEC.